we've got some successful veterans on this panel that have some really good solid tips. I know we've touched on it on a lot of different panels that we've already had about the power of networking, the power of professional development, getting out there and getting yourself educated. And this panel here is going to put it all together. So here's our last panel. First I'm going to introduce our moderator, which is going to be Dennis Myers. He's the president of the South Tampa Chamber of Commerce, and they are a partner of ours with this event. A lot of the professionals that are going to be out here at the networking event are coming from the chamber members. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but till then I want to get the panel started. Please help me welcome the panel moderator, Dennis Myers.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I am Dennis Myers. I'm an attorney here in Tampa. I'm also, that's my paying job. I'm a president of South Tampa Chamber. And in addition to that, I'm also chairman of the board for Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance. I am a veteran. I served in the Navy, Naval Reserves. I was a Desert Storm. And I'm proud to say that I come from a long line of veterans. My grandfather was at Normandy and D-Day. My uncle was in the Marines. My father was in the Army. My brother was in the Army. And my other brother was in the Air Force. So I'm proud to be here today. I want to thank you all. I want to thank all of our veterans for your service, for their service, and all our military. I saw some military over here. They may be gone now, but I want to thank them for their service too. And I want to just share something really quick with you before we go into the panel. I just saw a story come across my email that the Senate, by a vote of 94-1, has just passed the Veterans Job Bill. It's called the Vow to Hire Heroes Act. And this bill encourages businesses to hire unemployed veterans and creates training programs to help them transition into the civilian workforce. So this is, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm gonna start with, speaking of entrepreneurship, I just started one off again. This is my second one, so I think I got 16 more businesses to go, and I'll get there. Very proud to do that. I practice in mainly civil litigation, but I also venture out into insurance defense work. Very happy about that. I love being an attorney, and I love being in Tampa. And like I said, I'm really happy to be here. So I'm going to start with the format for today. We're gonna introduce the panel members. I've got some questions for each of them, and then we can open up to Q&A for you guys, if that's okay with you all. Okay. Let's start with Dave on the end. Would you please start with your introduction?
Thank you. You'll have to pardon me. I have laryngitis, but I made a commitment, like joining the Air Force, so I'm here today. So if you can't hear me, I apologize. This is as loud as I can get. My name is David Chalel. I'm also an attorney, so hold the eggs and the rotten tomatoes till the end.
We'll wait for you.
I was a JAG in the Air Force. I joined after September 11th. I did it the wrong way. I paid for my own law school and then joined the military. But I say that tongue in cheek because I really enjoyed my time, but I also enjoyed the hell out of getting out. So I started my own practice, and it's kind of funny because the market crashed. I was up in Boston at Hanscom Air Force Base, and the market crashed. I lost my shirt on a house. I bought a fixer-upper, and I lost everything. I was 36 years old, and I was living in my brother's house with my 4-year-old nephew, sleeping on his twin bed in my 4-year-old nephew's house at 35, going, what the hell did I do wrong? How did I get here? And I started a law practice with a credit card, literally, and it took off. And it was the main point that I would like to get across today is it was literally just pure marketing. I never have spent more than maybe 50 bucks on ads. They never paid off. It's just always getting out there, making the best product that you can. I call it pride in craft. Whatever your craft is, whatever your product is, take pride in it. I think that's a lost art these days, and I think people pick up on it real quick when you actually care the hell out of what you're doing. And then the referrals will keep coming. But I'll pass the mic on to the next guys. Thank you all for showing up today. I think it's a great organization, and we need to stick together as vets. I actually do vet disability, so always market yourself. If anyone has a VA claim that they're getting the shaft on, come talk to me because I know what to do. And I really enjoy the work because I get goosebumps just talking about it. I love helping the vets, especially the Vietnam vets that got screwed. I love helping them.
I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Okay, 2 words, opportunity and networking. One got me to where I am, the other enhanced my life. Private, sergeant, warrant officer, chief warrant officer, second lieutenant to lieutenant colonel. Those were all the opportunities that I was offered. I was busy. I was born in Tokyo and graduated high school in Hawaii. You know, that's a crap deal. Somebody's got to do it. I was really busy flunking out of University of Hawaii when my dad put a pamphlet on the bed that said, "Be an Army pilot." And I asked him, you know, what do you want to do that for? I'm not a college graduate. And he said, "Read it." You know how dads can do. I read it, and it was about the Warrant Officer Flight Program. So one day, I am a totally unfocused teenager flunking out of UH, and the next day I'm a private in the Army. Then a warrant officer, went to Vietnam, flew. I was actually the assault helicopter company flight lead. I led 10 helicopters into combat at 19 years old. And I was really surprised when my platoon leader asked me to do that because, you know, generally that's what he would do. But he flew with me for a week when he was checking me out, and I guess he decided that I could do the job. Anyway, so those were the opportunities that I took. As I retired in '93, I was commander of Avon Park Bombing Range. And my friends are all saying, "Bill, you got to get out there and network and find a job." And I'm going, "Yeah, what the hell is that?" So I stumbled, actually several times. And I ended up at the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce, and Rob's story rings a bell because I was hired by the guy that he interviewed. Not that day in that job. I was hired for another job. I spent 5 years as director of research in the Tampa Chamber for the Committee of 100, and that was when the chamber had like 2,000 member businesses and 200,000 employees. Well, I got to meet all those people. Also, Rob talked about Leadership Tampa. I went through that. I ended up with 60 new best friends, and I'm now hooked to 700 movers and shakers in Tampa. It was worth every penny that I didn't have to spend on it. I'd saved up the money to pay for it myself as the chamber paid for it. I didn't have to. So, networking is relationship building. Networking is what I teach now. By the way, I'm fully retired and drawing Social Security. And I do now what I want to do, and what I do is teach networking to people and help businesses do business development. And I was honored when Dennis asked that I might be here today.
You guys probably already heard my background when I was moderating the last panel. So I guess one of the things that I wanted to add to the conversation here is give just personally my background. Even when I was in college, the only thing I knew I wanted to do was go into the military at that point in time. So, and when I was in college, I focused on primarily ROTC and football. And one thing I really didn't pay much attention to was my grades. I can't say that I was a terrible student, but I wasn't a stellar student either. When I was in college. So that being said, you know, I kind of realized that one of my biggest strengths wasn't necessarily the academic side of the house, but people skills. And I quickly realized when I was in the military and after I got out of the military that for me it wasn't, you know, not necessarily what you knew, it was who you knew. And then not only who you know, but you know, you guys probably heard this term a million times, but pay it forward. And I think that's, you know, for me, in terms of networking, you know, the one thing that I've always done is not only try to build a really big network, but, you know, without asking people for things, finding ways to help other people. And I found out a million times, even if it's, you know, a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, things have a way of working themselves full circle. And you know, when I made the decision to, you know, again, go into business when I left the military, and I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, you know, I made a vow to myself, I'm going to get to know every single person in this community, to move from shaker at every level. And, you know, from a networking standpoint, just get involved with all the different chamber of commerces, all the local entrepreneurial groups, business groups, Toastmasters, every single thing possible. I know sometimes that takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time, but
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Tinder. I've actually been in this area since 1990. I was active duty Air Force for 8 years, and then I transitioned into the reserves. I had 2 small children, so I left active duty at that time. I've lived in Indonesia, I've lived in the Philippines, I've lived in all over the U.S. In Bitburg, Germany. That was one of my favorites. But I have 31 years total service time, so I'm probably the only woman on the planet who's looking forward to turning 60 because I will start getting some retirement at that time. I don't think very many people. I was activated twice, once in '91 for Desert Storm, went to Washington, D.C. for 4 months, and then in 2001 I actually worked at family support here at McDill. So I've always loved the military. I would still be in if I didn't hit my mandatory separation date. Now, when I transitioned out of the military, I was a single mom. I had 3 kids, and I got a full-time job, and I was pretty miserable. It wasn't that I knew in my head I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't like having no flexibility in my life. And it's not always about the money. It's about finding something, number one, that you like to do, because they say if you love your work, you'll never work a day in your life. It's essential that you find something you can feel passionate about. And then the second thing is find something that fits in your schedule. I could not quit my job because I had 3 daughters that I was raising by myself. So I became self-employed part-time, and there are plenty of opportunities. I actually work with a company called Legal Shield, and we offer identity theft, protection, and restoration, along with sort of like legal insurance to companies and individuals. We offer employee benefits, things like that. There's a lot of other things besides what I do that you can do part-time. I did this part-time for 2 years. My 2nd year, I made enough money to quit my job. And how did I do it? Because I had a full-time job and 3 kids. Well, how was I going to meet people to build my business network? And it's all about networking. It's all about getting out there and meeting people, because I don't think there's anybody in here who can say, maybe one of you likes cold calling. And very few people like that. Are you one of those? He's the one in the room. Anybody else? All right, but it's about building relationships. I mean, I went on a Tampa ski club trip, and I met the owner of an electric company that had 200 employees, and it became one of my clients. So it's a matter of you build relationships, and I think that's what some of our questions are going to lead into. So, and I cannot stay for the whole networking, so if anybody's interested in getting my card afterwards, or I gave some to Hal. So I've got to drive to Jacksonville when we're finished. It's about 3.5 hours. So.
Thank you, Jen. We are going to get to networking. We're here about professional development. That's the panel. And so I wanted to start with David and ask you this question, and we can go down the line if you guys don't want to do that format. David, what's your definition of professional development, and how can veterans develop themselves professionally to be more successful in today's job market?
I'd say that the first one, and this is I haven't seen the question, so this is more orchestrated. How would I define professional development? I would say define for yourself whatever goal it is that you want out of life, and then chart yourself a course to get there. So I'd say a personal structure system on what it is your goal is. Professional development would be developing yourself to get to your final destination. What was the second part?
How can veterans develop themselves professionally to be more successful in today's job market?
You got to stay young. Always be a kid at heart, and always continue to. You have to crave information. I think, especially nowadays. Fortunately for me, I have that. I'm not really driven that much by money, which makes people think that I'm an idiot sometimes. I just enjoy the process. I'm always looking for the next thing. Cal can tell you that. We've had many discussions poolside, figuring out how we're going to get rich, but it's not really about getting rich. It's just about this, like a game. You have to look at it kind of like a fun game. I think you have to make everything fun. But I would say too, always educate yourself and continue to learn something new. For me, for example, I've decided that I've learned a lot of different areas in life, but the one thing I don't know diddly about is natural science, so I'm going to start taking classes at HCC with a bunch of 18-year-old kids. I figured it'll keep me young. I'll probably meet some really intelligent kids that are desperate for work, and I'll probably be able to bring them on to my next project, and in the meantime I'll learn some things that I feel quite frankly like an idiot about, chemistry for example.
Do you know the question, Bill? What's your definition of professional development, and how can you have how can veterans help themselves professionally to be more successful in today's job market?
When I was looking for something to do after I retired, I made many false starts. And one of the first ones I made was I thought that because it was similar in rank structure, that maybe either law enforcement or corrections would be something I'd get into. So I did the police academy and the law enforcement academy simultaneously. And I ended up working in a prison for a while, which was really interesting, but definitely not me. And then later I was hired by TPD, which was pretty exciting. By the way, when I went through the police academy, I went through with my daughter. And I had to work my ass off to beat her. because I was the one that taught her how to shoot. And she was as good as I was. She'll tell you that she let me win, but I graduated #1, she graduated #2 in the class. Anyway, so corrections, law enforcement, neither one of us actually liked those, and we went out and did other things. When I left the chamber after 5 years doing research, I actually hired a company to help me find a job. They teach you how to do it, which is kind of what I do now. But they teach you how to do a resume and tailor it for every job you apply for. They teach you how to network. They teach you how to prep for an interview and go through it and answer the questions correctly. And a lot of trick questions there. And they teach you how to negotiate your salary. Only 1 in 4 ever negotiates a salary. Can you imagine how much money is left on the table there? So, while I was in that course, I made a comment about, I worked at the chamber and I got about 1,200 people in my database. And the guy looks at me kind of funny and goes, how many? I said, I got about 1,200 people in my database. He goes, wait a minute. He walks down the hallway and he comes back and he says, would you like to work here? He offered me the job right there doing the same thing. So I had to finish the course real quick and then I went into career advising. So in career advising, there are, like you have seen, no doubt, where in the military we wear a rank. In the civilian world, they wear initials. MBA. I was a CPRW, certified professional resume writer. I was a GCDF, Global Career Development Facilitator. Some of those training things, some of that professional development you can do is, and I call it SquareField, but some of it is getting those initials, and they're not all that hard to do. And one of them, truthfully, is MBA, really great one to get. And so all the schools that are represented here, you bet your butt $1 they've got MBA programs. I have a master's in aeronautical technology. It got me promoted to lieutenant colonel, but an MBA would have also. And as I look back, I kind of wish I got an MBA. Because now, when you look at some of the jobs, for instance, at the county center, it says, 4 years of experience in this, bachelor's in 2 years, or an MBA or MPA, Master of Public Administration. And when it says or an MBA, it means no experience. If you have an MBA, you qualify for the job. So that is some of that professional development that you might use your GI Bill or other benefits for. The other thing is, if I had my way, those of you who are getting out, I can't really help those who have already gotten out as much as I can help those who are getting out. You should be preparing yourself for getting out a year before you get out. I don't ever get on that far. But you need, if you're going to build a network, that's not something you do overnight. Most of you did just you gave the military 110% till your last day on duty, and then you went, okay, now I'll find a job. And that's when you realize that you're 6 months to a year behind that power curve, because that network doesn't balloon overnight. And it's not going to help you until you build it. So if you have time, you need to start networking. If you don't know how to network, call me. I'm retired. I'm cheap. You buy the coffee, I can be there.
I guess the biggest thing for me is professional development. I guess there's an educational standpoint. I mean, I'm a big believer in constantly learning something new every single day. And for me personally, I'm pretty much self-taught in everything I do. Because like I said, I certainly, when I was an infantry officer, didn't know anything about business. And I got some practical experience when I entered the business community, but I personally don't watch TV, and I'm one of those big believers that if you're not getting something of educational value from what you're doing, each and everything, i.e., what you're watching on TV or what you're reading every single day, then it's worthless to me anyway. So I spend a lot of time reading, but more importantly, I think the biggest thing for me is practical experience, school of hard knocks. From professional development, the educational piece is one thing. Reading 1,000 different books, talking to a million different people are all really important. But the way I truly understood and now know how to run a business was just get out there and run, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. And that was, I guess, the biggest thing with professional development was some of these people mentioned it here. If you get out there and you run and you fall down, just get back up and start running again. And that's, I guess, the most important piece of advice I can give in terms of professional development. Again, don't have any fear of failure. Don't be afraid to ask this question. Of course, educate yourself, but more importantly, figure out, like, going out there and doing it. So, and if that's starting a business or moving into a different career track, it's all about initiative, I guess. So, my biggest piece of advice is get out there and run, fall back up.
Well, for everybody in here, your professional development is going to depend on what you choose to do. Because if you're entering a career field that is related to what you did in the military, it's going to be different if you're starting something brand new. For me, I was starting something that I had never really done, so I had to find people that I could model. And what you want to do is find successful people that you can serve as a mentor to you in your field for what you're doing, and also outside your field as far as becoming the person that you want to be. Because in the military, there's a lot of conformity. They don't encourage a lot of the individuality. But when you get out there and you're networking, you've got to be an individual. And there's a lot of personal development out there. Find some instructors, and there's some great leadership training out there that will make you better at what you do, help you be a better spouse at home, which keeps people happy, keeps your family happy, help you be better in relationships. Tony Robbins has some great stuff out there. That's very generic. John Maxwell. You can find a lot of really good training online just by looking up, a subject that you might want to get better at. So you've got to continue not only to develop your business skills relating to what you choose to do, but also, in your personal life. You've got to become the kind of person that other people want to be around. No matter what you do, you got to be the kind of person that people gravitate to you, because then no matter what you're doing, you're going to be successful, because people are going to generally be attracted to you and they're going to want to help you, because everything, it is about who you know and who they know. The 6 degrees of separation, they say, and through there's a lot of sites like LinkedIn and other things. We've got a great social media guy here. You could talk to Tony over there. Things where people will lead you to people through the internet. And, it's all a matter of, taking personal responsibility for the person you want to become, and then, of course, the personal responsibility for what kind of work you choose to do. And, that's really pretty much all I have.
Let's go to, we've been dancing around a little bit, but networking is obviously very important. I want to start with Bill on this one. Considering today's economic climate and the tough job market that we were facing, what would be your advice or your recommendations to the audience on how to improve their networking skills?
Call me. He says, networking is networking, selling is selling. Networking is not selling. Many of us have been pushed out the door by a manager who said, go out there and network and sell. That is two completely different things. There's another guy around here named Jeffrey Gittimer, and he's in Bay Area Business Magazine all the time. And he's got a couple books out, and he's really good. But, and his thing is really sales, but he does have some really good nuggets when it comes to networking. And sales, for that matter. He says, all things being equal, people want to buy from their friends. All things being not quite so equal, people still want to buy from their friends. So you don't need more sales gimmicks, you need more friends. And you get more friends by networking. Now, speed networking, I've heard some young people talk about, horse networking. I'm really happy when I go out networking if I get 3 to 5 business cards and I've had a meaningful conversation with someone, and I can take those cards and I go home and I have kind of a system, and my system adds about 400 people a year to my database. I'm now, and I said at 1,200 before, that was several years ago, I have over 4,000 people in my Tampa database. And it's hard keeping up with them, believe me, but also, who's reading the Tampa Bay Business Journal? Who's subscribing to the Business Journal? Okay, now, whoa. You all want to be somebody in Tampa, but you're not reading the single most important business news outlet out there, and it's $100 a year. You get it weekly. It has at least one of the lists from the book of lists in it every time. It has pictures of people doing things where they're going, and that's how I start told people I know, and I write them a note. Your congratulations on your promotion. It's nice to see, or I liked your piece in the Business Journal, but you got to keep touching those people. 4,000 is a lot of people to reach out and touch, but we're not all AT&T. But so networking is about relationship building. Go out there and network. Network with your target market. Network with things you love, like wine tastings, beer tastings, and gourmet food kind of networking groups. And then network with sports people. If you're in the sports, remember that if you're a soccer mom or dad, people walking up and down the sideline with you are probably business people. Don't forget them. When you're a networker, never in the off position, you're always on. You're always thinking, who this person be? But don't qualify. Don't say, this person can't help me. Don't do that, because you don't know who they know. You have no clue who they know. They might know the one person that can get you into the company you have been trying to touch for a long time.
Bill, before you pass that mic, two quick things. Can introverts do well at networking? And the second quick thing is that whole thing we've talked about before about accepting business cards from people and the way you should do that. Can you touch on those real quick, please?
Introverts make very good networkers. As many times as I've taught networking, I can look at an audience and I'll see people who, as soon as I start talking about networking, they go, click, you're off. And they just turn me off because they said, I'm an introvert, I don't network. Wrong. Introverts do something that us big E extroverts don't do. Introverts have the ability to listen much better than we do. I have to watch myself because I like to do all the talking. An introvert knows to listen. So what introverts do to network is they have a kind of a hip pocket 6 questions, When that pause in the conversation happens, they look that person in the eye and say, so what brought you to Tampa? Put the conversation back in their lap. When they're done talking and that pause happens, well, how did you get with that company? And what is it about that company that trips your trigger? Or whatever. So you keep asking them questions. They do all the talking. You don't have to do the talking, and they love you for it. How does that work?
Business cards.
Business cards, yes. get very shallow with business cards sometimes. And, you know, you get it, and before you're done talking to them, you put it in a pocket already. We have kind of an international environment around here in Tampa. And you will meet international businessmen. But if you ever see one of them hand you a card with both hands, take it with both hands and do not put it away until you're done talking to them. In fact, it's really good to go, oh, I like the logo of the South Tampa Chamber. You know, make a comment about the card. In the international world, they have just handed you the essence of themselves. This is their business card. This is part of them. I actually had that happen at a coalition reception. The Japanese officer, a captain in the Navy, handed me his business card this way. And you know, I got crap because I actually got to use the, oh, I know what to do. I grabbed it with both hands. Okay, so business cards, don't dismiss them. 90% of the people who get a business card while networking do absolutely nothing with it. Why is that? They take it home, they put it next to their computer. When the stack gets this high, they put it around and they put it in the drawer. How does that help you? Take it home, put the information in whatever database system you use, send them an email right then. Dear Dennis, enjoyed meeting you at the Veterans Networking Summit. Enjoyed talking about the Bucks game. If I can ever help you, let me know. And sign it with your full contact information. Every email you send is a marketing tool. Remember that. It needs your full contact information, maybe a tagline or whatever, but sign it that way. What have you just done? You've offered to help them before they got a chance to offer to help you. You have actually made them feel just a little tinge of obligation. So they come, I've had some interesting responses to that. One was, wow, you're good. Why? Because I did something with their card. They hand out 50 cards and nobody, hardly anybody ever returns. You know, they send them an email or anything. So that's one response. The other is, yes, Bill, I enjoyed meeting you as well. If I can ever help you, let me know. My in. Well, you seem to know a lot about Tampa. Maybe we could meet for coffee sometime and I can pick your brain. How good is that? Also, I've done breakfast, I've done lunch, I've done dinner. It's way too expensive. Coffee mid-morning, coffee mid-afternoon. Maybe I'll meet them for wine if it's dollar wine night at the center.
Let me just say something real quick, Dean. I can't even tell you how many times I have seen, I mean, being president of the chamber, being an attorney, being an outgoing extrovert, I have, it amazes me when I see people, they'll hand someone a business card and they'll take it and just put it in their pocket. It seems to be dismissive, and this is no small matter for everyone here, by the way. That business card is, as Bill said, it's your identity. Maybe we don't take it as seriously as the other nationalities do, but we should. It is a big deal to take, I think it is a big deal to take someone's business card. Just take it, look at it, say something, keep it out like Bill was talking about. I think it's incredibly dismissive to take that card from someone just, and I've had happen to me before. I hand someone my card and say, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. That's my advice today about the business card. It is not a small matter. So take Bill's advice on it and at least acknowledge it and keep it out. It is no small matter when you're doing business with people. Anyway, Dean, please.
Yes, sir. I guess one of my biggest points, and he made a lot of great points, some of the same things that I would do, but just to add to that a little bit more is keep in mind that I think the mistake I see a lot of times is that people, when it comes to networking, only go out there and network when they need something or when they need a job. You know, and you have to keep in mind that network is actually not a short-term game, it's a long-term game. And you know, that's a key principle. You just never know when you're going to again need that network or again be able to help someone out. And for me, you know, he talked about some of the tools, and I think we mentioned LinkedIn a million times, but it's great to get that business card and good to go home that night immediately. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool because, you know, what does it do for you every single day? A lot of people are on it, they're using it, and there's constant updates. And, you know, a point he touched upon that I love, you know, just being in sales and marketing is, you know, again, too many times people think, oh, I went to network, I got a business that doesn't mean anything. It's what do you do with that relationship moving forward? And, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of work, but it's not as much as you think. You know, every single day I get on LinkedIn, at least once a day. I look through my list, and if something happens, you know, people are excited because they had some type of milestone in their business. You know, someone that's in your network, shoot them a quick congratulations, man, that's awesome. You know, congratulations on the new acquisition, or congratulations on the new product, or you know, just little things like that, and you're sticking in people's heads. So I mean, there's tools, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, that allow you to constantly see what's going on within your network and constantly, you know, stay in touch. I mean, and little things too. I mean, it's a little bit old school, but you know, I still know who a lot of the poor people are on my network, and I do little things like send a Christmas card to. You know, Christmas card, or you know, just being in sales, you pick up on the fact that you try to build a profile on someone, maybe keep track of when their birthday is or whatever, and send them little cards. Just little things that show that you're, you know, trying to find a way to stay connected. So, sad and a little bit more to it.
Well, the other thing, where do you find some of these networking groups? Your chambers have things. For example, I belong to the Brandon Chamber. Guests can come for free. They have an after hours the second Tuesday of every month. They have a coffee the fourth Tuesday of every month. Guests are allowed to attend. You meet people that way. I'm sure the other chambers do, as well as if you could just go to Google and put in, you know, networking groups and meetup groups. Meetup.com, I was looking for a new networking group, and I found one just through meetup.com, or, you know, through working with nonprofits and with charity work. Go there not with the intention of getting a job, go there with the intention of I'm going to give back. And of course, you know the law, what you give comes back to you. So if you are out there doing something that's worthwhile and helping people, somewhere along the line, you know, you might be painting for Habitat for Humanity right next to the CEO or CFO of a company, and they may be hiring, and they're going to ask you, what do you do? Well, I'm in transition. You know, I spent, you know, many years in the military. I'm looking for my niche now in the civilian market. Let people know, you know, don't be in the Secret Service. Let people know, you know, what you're looking for, because they can't help you if they don't know what you're looking for. So it's really all about just keeping your communication open and getting yourself out there where there are people. You can't sit home and put your resumes up on Career Builder and Monster and sit there at your computer and expect some perfect opportunity to fall in your lap. You know, Bill wants to say something like that.
How many management jobs are filled through the internet? What percent?
About 8%.
3%. It's actually 1 to 3%. How many management jobs are filled through the newspaper? 12%. So if you're spending all your time on the internet and the newspaper, you're going for 15% of the jobs. Where are the rest of them? Networking and personal contacts. You got to get out there. As far as I'm concerned, the time you spend on the computer on anything but research is wasted. And I'm a techie. You know, I retired a long time ago, but I was flying a $17 million jet with 28 onboard computers. But my daughter won't let me get very far from technology. And it hurts me that technology isn't solving our problem here. But if you're spending a lot of time on the computer looking for jobs, you are wasting that time. It would be better spent volunteering for a nonprofit, getting in a board position, or networking at one of the gazillion events we have around here.
You guys kind of already led into my question, so thank you for jumping ahead. But I'm going to ask what Jan, this is actually Jan's question. So we'll start with you, Jan. I think you might have touched on some of it already. But the question is, where are good places to go to start the networking process, and how do we find them?
Well, we talked about, you know, that is something you can use your computer for, because people list their networking events. And find ones that are related to what you're looking for, and also find ones where people have interests. Like if you're a scuba diver, there's probably a meetup group or a scuba club. I like to snow ski, Tampa Bay snow skiers and Tampa Bay Ski Club. You go, you meet people that way at these different events. Most of the events don't cost anything to belong. And, you know, there's Free Networking International, there's, and just let people know you're in transition. You know, so go there with the intent of meeting people, because again, you may meet people like I said, it was on a ski trip where I met, you know, the owner of an electric company, and they had 200 employees, and they've been offering my services for 8 years now. But it wasn't, if I would never have gotten in the door there, cold calling or trying to get there. It's all about building relationships, and you know, that's, you just need to go. So there's a lot of places.